see it on your phone, or do something different. And your phone is going to come as a video instead of like presentation. But, so because of that, you might get some lag, like what we did before.
Yeah, please stand by starting soon.
So there's usually like a 30-second lag between what you see and what everyone else sees.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get started.
Well, I'll stand around for a bit until you're actually running up.
Oh, let's go ahead and shut the door.
And this here on the right then.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kathy Santini. I'm with John F. Kennedy University, and I'm here today with Adrian McGraw, who is the chair of the Museum Studies program, and Maria Guillen, who is a current student in the Museum Studies program. So welcome. We apologize for the delay in starting. We have some technical issues, but we're getting underway now. So what we'll be doing today is we'll spend just a couple of minutes talking about JFK University, just to give everyone a background on the university. Then we'll talk about what you're all here to hear about, which is the program itself, both the master's, the MA, MBA, and the certificate program. And then we'll kind of wrap up with discussion of application admission and financial aid. For those of you not familiar with JFK University, we are actually celebrating 50 years of transforming lives and changing the world. We were founded, dedicated to fulfilling President Kennedy's commitment to lifelong learning. And we are a nonprofit university accredited by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges and an affiliate of the National University System. We have over 20 innovative undergraduate and graduate degrees, including one of the probably the most innovative and leading one is one we're here to talk about today, which is Museum Studies program. We have classes offered at 3 campuses in California and online, and the Museum Studies program is offered in our Berkeley campus, where we actually are broadcasting from here today. What differentiates us from other schools, and we'll really get into it when we talk about the program here, is that all of our program really combine theory with hands-on application. Our faculty are what we call scholar practitioners, and they are individuals who are experienced and practicing in the field and going to enrich your classroom experience and also mentor you with their opportunities for discussion about examples of workplace that you can really apply in your studies. There's personalized attention in our classes. Our class sizes average is 12 and often smaller, and we have cohort models where individuals come in as a group and really allows for opportunities for developing support as you go through the program. And finally, our class schedules are pretty flexible. We offer full-time and part-time programs. We were founded dedicated to meeting the needs of working adults. So the majority of our classes are afternoons, evenings, and weekends, to make it convenient for individuals who do need to work. And we have a lot more opportunities online, either in online courses or online components of existing courses. And with that, that's the 2-second overview of JFK University. I'll take a deep breath now, and we'll start talking with Adrian about, I've talked about what's unique about JFK University. What's really unique about this program here?
Thanks, Kathy. So we're just got done celebrating our 40th anniversary. Museum Studies was founded in 1974, and that was really when museum studies as a profession was getting kind of in its early days, and we've been through the last 40 years and really seen a transformation in our field. Our degree, we have 3 options, as Kathy said. We have a master's in museum studies, and within that you can get 2 different specializations. We have the dual MBA degree, and then we also have a certificate. Through all of those programs, as Kathy said, we have the practitioner faculty, so all of us are still working in our fields and know what's the latest and greatest going on in museums. Much of what we do in class and through internships is in the field learning. So there's a lot of site visits, there's many guest speakers that come through, and every year we offer a lot of different extracurricular type of activities through practicums, through labs, through various kinds of professional development opportunities that we'll talk about later. We also have some very dynamic internships opportunities for people. I just heard that one of our students was accepted to go to the Smithsonian this summer to do an internship there, so that's really exciting for her. But some of the internships are local here in the Bay Area, and obviously in the Bay Area there's a lot of amazing museums to have have internship placements. And then a real strength of our program is our established network of colleagues that's not just here in the Bay Area, but throughout the country and even the world. And we really continue to cultivate that network and make sure that students are getting to know the professionals out in the field.
So Maria, since this is your first year in the program,
Yes.
so people who are listening are probably also where you were about a year ago of looking around at different programs. What were the things about JFKU's program that really attracted you?
Well, I was interested in looking at the education and the collections aspect. I had 2.5 years of experience working with collections, but I also had separate interests in education, teaching, science experiments to younger kids. And then adding the MBA aspect to it, because I also have some accounting, bookkeeping experience. So I wanted to see how all of those different aspects combine together to build this program.
And how for you has the program been? This is now you're finishing up your second quarter, just about ready to start your third. So what are kind of some of the memorable or notable things for you in some of the courses so far?
Well, I really enjoyed the leadership and the leadership class that we had, mostly because I was able to see where I fit within the different groups of people that I was in, whether that be in the workplace, in my family, or in a small group setting, and gained a better understanding of how I worked with my peers and people who I may encounter in the future.
So now, are you going full-time or part-time?
Full-time.
Full-time. So that means how many courses do you take a quarter?
I take 2 courses
Just a quarter? Okay. And then will you be doing an internship?
I'm looking to do some volunteers opportunities, but I don't believe I'm going to start my internships until the next summer in 2016.
Okay. As Adrian mentioned, we have the Masters of Arts. We have the dual degree, which Maria is actually pursuing, and we have the graduate certificate. So let's talk a little bit about the curriculum of the master's program. Kind of what are the baseline topics, and then what are the specializations offered, Adrian?
Sure. So the core curriculum in those 2 classes, the issues 1 and issues 2, we just offered in the fall, and Maria took those. And the leadership project she was talking about is in the issues 2 class. So those 2 classes really give a foundation about what is the current state of museums, what are our contemporary issues, and also talking about the future as well. And then in the fall, or in the winter, moving into specialization classes with collections management and visitor experiences. So those are 2 of the tracks that students can take. Museums and communities is a really big part of our program philosophy and our program learning objectives to not only train people to work in museums, but we're training people to serve the communities that are in the neighborhoods and in the cities and the towns of museums, and to really be a community advocate. And so we have a museums and communities class that we've had for a long time. Exhibit development, of course, is a big part of museums. And then another class that kind of changes from year to year is our technology class. Every summer, the instructor, Dr. Sparrow, will sit down and really work through what's the latest happening in museum technology. So that's a pretty dynamic class. And then, of course, the 2 specializations, collections and education. And for those students like Maria who are going into the MBA program, they can either choose to do a specialization or not. It's more of a choice about where you want to go with your career.
So as far as for somebody who's just coming into the master's program, just the straight master's, when do they have to decide on their specialization?
It's sort of happening now
Okay.
because the spring quarter of your first year is when you would take either of those 2 specialization courses, or you would choose to do the MBA. So again, there's that option and that flexibility if you don't quite know yet. Like Maria was saying, she'd done work in collections and education, but now it turns out she actually does want to get that MBA. So that's a choice that people are making sort of this time of year.
Okay. And obviously, a big part of this is the master's projects. I know I've had the opportunity to sit in on the presentations for the past couple of years, and they're really remarkable. But what's the process? Because if you've been out of school for a while, doing a master's project can be a little daunting to take on. So what kind of is the process you follow for the students?
Sure. This is a class that I actually teach. It's a 3-quarter process. You do a 1 unit in the fall where you're developing your topic. And these topics range everything from, we have one student right now who's looking at public art. We have a student who's looking at good communication strategies in museums. We have a student who's looking at Tibetan cultural objects in museums and how Tibetans are involved in that curatorial process. So a real wide range of topics. And then in the winter, you do your actual research. So you're doing your own methodologies, you're doing case studies and interviews and surveys, and then in the spring, you pull it all together into a very finished, polished product, master's thesis or master's project, and then make a final presentation. And like Kathy said, that those 2 days in June when all the students are making their presentations and presenting before friends and family, but also our museum colleagues in the field, it's pretty exciting. And I always take a little pride in that because it's an exciting time.
Yeah, they're usually end up listening to presentations and wishing you could hear more because it's kind of just like the tip of the iceberg type of thing. So,
it really is.
Yeah, there's some really excellent work. And here we'll talk about a couple of the recent projects. The Way of the Dodo.
Right. This was a student who just graduated last year, Catherine Baldwin-Corvo, and she did an amazing project looking at how museums who have natural history collections, and Maria knows about this as well, that they have all this research going on behind the scenes, but may never show some of that in their education and exhibit programs. So Catherine was really looking at how to advocate for collections. And Catherine's an example of a student who has done presentations on her topic at AAM, the American Alliance of Museums. She's done a poster session and also presented just a few weeks ago at the CAM conference, the California Association of Museums. So we really encourage the students to take those topics and publish about them, present about them, and keep promoting their research. And it's also a good way to get yourself noticed for a job.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the Museum Studies MBA degree. Again, you mentioned, now this is not something you have to actually decide coming into the program. You can wait.
Correct.
As Maria did?
Correct.
Oh, okay. And then how have you, one of the questions I know comes up is, what, if anything, do you lose by doing the dual degree? I mean, how is it you combined it so you can get the 2 degrees in the 3 years?
Sure, it's a pretty great way of getting an MBA in addition to your master's. It's only an additional year of class. And as Maria's going to start going into her class, you have the first year of Museum Studies, second year MBA classes, and then the third year back with us, Museum Studies. Some of the advantages of doing that is your internship placements can really be focused on business administration, marketing, development, any type of administrative type projects that students want to do through their internships. And then another advantage is the very last year you're doing a master's thesis, which is in combination with an MBA capstone. So you're really integrating the learning that you've done over those 3 years into your master's project or thesis, where you're able to show that while you have a great idea about improving museums, you're also showing the financial and leadership side of that project.
So, but the one nice thing is there's only one project.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do an MBA capstone. Correct. And a Museum Studies project.
Correct.
It's integrated together. So.
Yeah. And that's brand new this year. So we really looked at, where's the way to better integrate the programs, and that was one way we've chosen to do it.
So, and then the graduate certificate, the main thing is you still do have the specialization options. It's a 1-year program, but you actually still have the specialization options. But there's no thesis required, and then what is available as far as internships?
Sure, the certificate program is really designed for people who've done a lot of work and have a lot of experience and want to come back and improve their education, or people who are making a career change. And the internship is a big part of that, because you're really getting that hands-on that you may have not had in your quote unquote first degree or your first career, but wanting to make that change into museum studies, the internship gives you a lot of hands-on in that. And again, this is a program where you may come in thinking you're going to get a certificate, and like several of Maria's classmates actually decide at that point, no, I do want to get the degree. Or you may be in a position where you thought you wanted to come in and get a degree and end up getting a certificate. So there's a lot of flexibility in that, depending on your career needs and just, life changes.
So essentially, the graduate certificate is embedded in the program.
Exactly.
So
the cohort is the same. Maria has a few of her colleagues who are in the certificate program taking all the same classes, and then they'll be finished in June instead of going on to get a degree.
Okay. So then, and again, so when, if in a one-year program, when do they do their internship?
They could do it sort of winter, spring, and summer.
Okay.
Yeah, we usually hold people off from doing internships in the fall, just so you focus on class. And Maria can probably say that there's a lot to do in the fall.
Yeah.
Just getting used to being back in school.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that after going from just working and starting school again, kind of going through that transition.
How long since you graduated with your undergraduate degree?
I graduated in the fall of 2012, and then I started last fall, which was about a year and a half.
Okay.
It was just kind of rearranging everything, but it's nice because it added new conversations to my groups of friends, and it's nice to be in something that I know that I care about and that I'm interested in.
Okay.
And that actually is a great point. Maria said that year or two in between undergrad and graduate school is something we really, really, really recommend. And many people will come in straight from undergrad, but we love people taking that pause and really getting out and doing some work, and just taking a moment to make sure that museum studies is really what you want to do.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the internships. We've got a couple of slides here that just shows kind of the whole gamut and variety of internship options available. So the first is here with the Bay Area. But let's talk, while we're kind of looking at the slides, the process for selecting the internship. So like for Maria, who's now kind of looking ahead, what would she be doing, or what are you already doing, Maria, as far as looking towards your internships?
Well, for me, I'm looking at what types of things interest me within my classes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I already had my 2.5 years of collections, so I don't know if I'm not really thinking that, collection is something that I want to see. I want to try and broaden my experience and see maybe that there's something else there that I might like more. So that's sort of where my mind is going, and also the issues that was presented in Adrian's class last quarter of diversity and things like that, kind of seeing what I could potentially do, and talking to Adrian or Susan about like where could I make a difference, and that's what's going on through my head.
So then, as far as process for location, I mean, how does that work for a student? Then once they've kind of identified maybe kind of what they want to do, then how do you? Is it on the student then to match up? Do you already have opportunities? How does that work?
It's really a collaborative process between the student and our director of internship, Dr. Sparrow. She really works to match you up with the kind of internship that you want. Some of them are, like I mentioned, one student just got accepted to the Smithsonian. That was really on her. She had to fill out a very intense application, and I think there was even an interview involved. So some of them that are pretty highly competitive, the student really needs to excel to get there. But other ones are very much collaborative with faculty here to get you placed in the kind of place that you want to be. And just some of the examples that you're showing on the PowerPoint here are places where our students have gone over the years, and we have great relationships with those institutions, so they know that our students come in prepared and really contribute to the museum, and then our students learn a lot in those settings.
And so you mentioned, like, for the graduate certificate, the internships would be over winter, spring, summer. Kind of for, let's say, Maria, the full-time student or the part-time student, what is the usual track for when are they doing their internships?
Sure, they're usually doing those in the summer. We don't have classes in the summer, so it's a great time to do it. If you're going to go out of state or even out of the country, it's a great time. But again, we're really flexible because we understand that some people have to work full time, and so getting that internship kind of squeezed in, it becomes a little bit of a challenge. And so some people spread those internships out
Okay.
and don't do it all at once. So it's, again, a very flexible way to get that hands-on experience. And it's really a student by student sort of, yeah.
Okay. But like you said, you do have relationships with a lot of these museums. What about like the international ones? I mean, those are kind of, if someone wants to do an international internship, is that more on the student to identify those, or do you actually have like relationships with some of these museums that they will actually let you know about internship opportunities?
Sure, it really depends. I mean, obviously, we can't know everybody at every museum of the world, even though we'd like to. We definitely have some locations where we have a lot more connections than others. But the advantage of being a program that's 40 years old is we have alumni all over the world, all over the country, that we can call on to say, hey, do you know someone who works in this museum? Or, you know, this is in your community. Can you help us make an introduction for the student? So that's where the network really comes in.
Sure. Okay. You know, for Maria, are you looking to stay in the Bay Area, or are you open?
I'm hoping that whenever I do my internship, it'll be something in New York. But I mean, I would also, or the Smithsonian, but I would also like to stay in the area. So I'm pretty open about spaces and places, but I've been here for about 7 years now. So going somewhere else would be nice.
So when you were talking about people being able to spread out their internships, so, or do they do multiple internships? I mean, if she wanted to do something in New York and something here in California, can she do both?
Yeah, we really encourage 2 internships at least within the 9 units that you're doing, or 6 units depending on when you started. Yeah, we definitely encourage multiple places, not too many, so that you're able to spend, you know, a good amount of time at one place. People usually do at least 2 within those units.
Also, do you, go ahead.
There is a difference between the number of units for the MA and MBA.
Correct.
Okay, and
Correct.
And those are
the MBA. The units is 3
okay.
internship units, because you know you're taking a lot more classes to get those 2 degrees. So the internship is 3, and then the MA is 9. Although 3 of those are a lab, and then the certificate is 7.5.
Okay. Okay. And then the faculty, we've talked a little bit about. Adrian, yourself, actually, we probably should do a little bit of your history, background in museums, and then maybe you can kind of talk us through an overview of the rest of the faculty you have here.
Sure. I'm actually an alum of the program, and I graduated many years ago. I won't say when, but you can figure it out. And my colleague, Dr. Sparrow, has been teaching here for, I think this is her 24th year. So she's really an institution within the institution and has a great network of colleagues around the Bay Area and the country. She teaches our education classes. And then our adjunct faculty are really out there still working in the field. They own their own consulting businesses, they're working in museums. Brianna Cutts is an exhibit designer for the Civic Group, and she has designed museums all over the world, museum exhibits. Margaret Katayama has been here for about 18 or 19 years. She was actually my teacher. She does our museums and communities class, and that's one class that Maria is going to start in the spring, and it's that class that really gets in and advocates for audiences. Susanna Macaron is a former registrar at the Oakland Museum, and she's now consulting and helping museums get their collections in order. Joy Tahan Riddell also is a registrar, and she works at the Oakland Museum, and so she's an alum as well. And Dr. Randy Roberts is our sort of leadership, administration, and finance faculty, and she is the deputy director at the New Shrem Museum at UC Davis. So everybody's out working in the field and you know, participating in professional development opportunities through associations, publishing, writing, doing a lot of thinking about how to make museums better, better stewards of collections, but also better advocates for their communities and audiences.
So let's talk about the application, and I have to confess we forgot to update this one, but okay. The application deadline actually has been extended. It's April 1st, 2015. You do need to have a bachelor's degree to apply for the program. There's no GRE required. Pretty well standard for most any graduate school. You have to provide transcripts. We also look for a personal statement. And what, Adrienne, are you looking for individuals in that personal statement?
That's a really big part of the application, and I think it's the key for us. It needs to be well written, show your passion for museums and what they can do in the world, but also talk about your own experience. We really like to have people come in with some experience as an intern or volunteer to know that this is the kind of field you want to work in.
And then 3 letters of recommendation. One of the things we always tell people, comment is, no, we don't want your aunt, uncle, or fellow family member. Well, what are you looking for as far as, you know, either sources or content in those letters of recommendation?
Sure, we like to see recommendations coming from former professors or faculty, and also from supervisors at institutions where you may have worked or volunteered. And of course, other kinds of professional recommendations are fine. So those 3 letters can come from a variety of sources, but that really talk about you as a team player, you as a person that cares about communities and collections and the heart of what museums do.
So one of the things we also touched on, I think you mentioned earlier, was kind of the experience that you are looking for individuals to bring. What kind of experience in particular, and how much experience do you look for in your applicants?
Well, I think Maria is a great example of that, and maybe you can talk a little bit about what you've done before you came to grad school, to know that you really wanted to be in this field.
Yeah, I don't think if I had gone from undergrad to grad school, I would have completely known. I remember graduating and thinking, okay, I'm interested in osteology, zoo archaeology. I volunteered at a museum. Is that what I want to do? And in that time off, I went on an archaeological dig in Spain. I continued to work in business services in an office. Do I want to be in an office? And in that time, I felt like once I made the decision, okay, I want to pursue a museum studies degree. This was after talking with the people who I volunteer with, the people that I met on this archaeological dig. They're the ones who really kind of explained, like, well, if you want to pursue archaeology, here's what you're going to be faced with. And if you want to do museum studies, here are the other challenges that you're going to have. But if you really care about it, you're going to know in that first year if this is what you want to continue doing. And I feel like after, I mean, I'm not completely done with my first year, but I do feel like I'm in the right place, because with every assignment that I'm given and every paper that I'm writing, I do look to see where my heart is and what are the issues that I care about. And I think that it's reflected in the arguments that I make in the classroom and in my papers.
So would it be a fair guess that you have a degree in archaeology?
I have a degree in anthropology and integrative biology.
Oh, okay, okay. So as far as degrees that people, their backgrounds, I mean, aside from either working or volunteering in a museum, are there, do you see that people have either an archaeology, anthropology, or art background, or is it a real diverse, because like you mentioned, they're career changers?
Sure, art history, archaeology, anthropology, and history. We have a lot of students with history background. So there's a lot on the humanities side, and then we have other students who are coming in more from science. One of our students is, she comes out of space science, actually. So there's some students coming in through that. And then the career changers can be anything. We had one graduate who had been in a warehouse. He had been sort of warehouse manager logistics for his entire career, and he loved history. And so combining his logistics and kind of physically understanding space, he became a collections manager. So we never know where those career changes are going to come from. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of variety in the degrees people are coming in with.
So once all the application materials are submitted to the admissions office, then there's a screening process and an interview process that the department does, correct?
Sure.
And generally, it's from the time you're kind of applied to your get a decision, what's usually kind of your goal for your, for lack of a better term, turnaround time?
Yeah.
And someone can expect to make it.
Sure. We just had our priority deadline in February, so we've processed all of those applications, and everyone knows whether they've been accepted or not. And then we have another, and they probably knew by the end of February, so it took about a month, so it's not very long. And then we have another deadline coming up on April 1st, as Kathy said, and we'll do another round of interviews, and people will know again within, that round's usually smaller, so
Okay.
probably within 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, we turn those around pretty quick.
Now, are these interviews in person, on the phone, or how do you do the interviews? Because I'm sure you get out-of-state applicants as well.
Sure, we have a lot of students coming in from out of state. We'd love to do it in person, but if that's not possible, Skype is great.
Okay.
And then of course phone.
Okay.
But we really like a Skype call because, you know, we can see each other and,
Right.
and, you know, really talk.
Right. What about, is this just a one-on-one, or is it a kind of a panel?
We do one-on-one.
One-on-one? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a JFK way to be more to be more one-on-one.
Okay. Which brings us, one of the reasons to apply earlier, and one of the reasons they're trying to help you get, you know, an admission decision quickly is because financial aid. Because JFK University is an accredited institution, we are able to offer financial aid in the form of grants, loans, and scholarships. And the first step for any kind of financial aid is you have to go online to complete. Don't have to commit to anything, but complete your FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. Go to www.fafsa.ed.gov and put in your information. You do need to have either your income tax information available, or they do have now a link to completing your application, pulling in your income tax return from the IRS. You don't have to actually have submitted your tax return by the time you do your FAFSA. What you can do is, if you're still working on your current tax year return, you can do your FAFSA, and then once you file your return, go back in and update it. You want to add JFK University as one of the schools. Our code is 004484. And then there is a supplemental financial aid application that we do require that just provides a little more detail about the kinds of costs you incur while you're going to school. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. But before we close, Maria and Adrian, do you have any kind of closing comments about the program that you want to leave? Maria?
Well, I'm excited for the next few years.
Okay.
I enjoy the flexibility. It really allowed me to keep my job and take classes at the same time. But I enjoy my cohort. I feel like with every student that has been accepted in my cohort, they brought in different perspectives that allowed me to see things that I didn't think about, and also engage in discussions that I never really thought that I could before.
Great.
Yeah, that's a great point about having a real diversity of perspectives and backgrounds coming in each cohort. And that brings up another point about the cohorts that you come in with. You all start in the fall, and you really kind of stick together through some of those classes and develop a strong network of friends and colleagues and study buddies. So that's a good part of our program, because it's small and intimate in that way. And I just wanted to add one exciting thing. We're doing a colloquium in May at the Asian Art Museum on May 9th, which will bring in two nationally known authors, Linda Norris and Rainey Tisdale, who've written a book about creativity and museum practice. And anyone's invited to attend that program. So if you want more information on that, you can email me at the address there. And looking forward to reading some of your applications and hopefully bringing you on in for interviews and to join our program. So thank you.
Well, the other, I just wanted to mention too, one of the things you alluded to was the students. There is a student association among the museum students, and I know it's very active. I mean, I think when I think of student associations among programs that I'm aware of, it's probably the second or third most active one. So I know that's really great as far as, I assume, providing support, well, even welcoming new students, as well as kind of support while you're going through the program. So I think that's one of the really, even beyond the graduate community, the student community here, it's an asset for them. So.
It is, and that the MSSA, the Museum Studies Association, they also do professional development opportunities and networking opportunities for each other. It's a great other way. And it also is a nice thing to add to your own leadership skill building. So, you know, it's something extracurricular, but very needed to continue that kind of learning.
Oh, very good. Okay. If you do have questions that come up after the webinar and want more information, on your screen you'll see Angelina Baraz is the admissions advisor that works with the program, and her email and phone number are on the screen. And then Adrian, as she mentioned, is also available to talk with you about or answer any questions about the program or your application. And for those of you participating, we do offer an application fee waiver. And if you go online or submit a paper application, just use the code WQS15. If you're doing a paper application, just write it in the upper right-hand corner. And if you go online, there's actually a box to enter that code. Again, it's WQS15. Thank you, Adrian and Maria, for participating today, and thank you, everybody. And again, feel free to email either Angelina or Adrienne if you have more questions after you join us. And we hope to see you as part of the JFK community soon. Have a good day.